we're talking about brain health. So people want help with memory. So they're starting to lose memory. Or you get people who are really concerned about getting Alzheimer's. They have somebody in their family that has had, and it's a horrible disease. Is there anything that we can do to stave this off and protect ourselves? Or if we are noticing, for instance, starting to get some memory loss okay, yes, 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 yes. So let's start with it. Actually relates to some of the things that we just talked about. So, what is your brain made out of? Your brain, and I can tell you a lot of the stuff that I talk about is this is not all theoretical for me. So, in my training, I've done actually quite a lot of cadaver research, meaning I've cut people open in medical facilities and clinical settings and done training on what's inside the body. What does it look like? I've actually seen it, and we'll get later into some of the shows of what we look like on the inside. And we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are made by a master. That is for sure. And he was quite artistic and funny because he put all these different shapes in our bodies and all this other stuff. But I'm going to tell you, I've held brain material and it's fat. They call it gray matter, and it's fat. It's just like a ball of gray goo. Okay, so it is literally fat, and if you don't eat fat, you're not going to get it. They say that walnuts are healthy. Cut a walnut in half. Like take the walnut and cut it. Look at it. It looks like it's got two hemispheres. It's a brain. It is your brain. There's so many different foods and things out there that like God made it so amazing that like you don't have to be an expert or even educated. You just have to look at it and see, and it tells you exactly what it's for. But yes, so getting the fat in our body. And so many times, most of us have been so fat deficient, we don't get the DHA. The DHA is a master oil. This is pretty much the only one you really got to worry about because when you give your body enough of the DHA, and this one is in a algae form, a microalgae form, your body then turns it into all of these other different fats because there's all these different types of fats. There's different types of cholesterol in terms of there's the HDL, there's the LDL, there's the triglycerides. And let me tell you, what we used to think that the triglycerides are the worst things. We need triglycerides. That's what's dissolved in the blood. That's what's floating in the bloodstream. So, don't get these words and think that there's a balance here. The truth is there's a balance to all things. And so getting the fat in the right forms. Now, many of us has eaten the bad fats, the margarine. It is not real fat. It's not real food. It's fake. A lot of the fats and oils that we eat, like the corn oil and the fried foods and stuff like that, not only are these oils very, very damaged oils, they're extremely old and they're rancid. And what happens is when you take a rancid oil, if that's all you give your body will make itself out of it. But a rancid oil it's hard and it is basically it does damage. It's like radioactive waste. And it literally, so if your brain is made out of these healthy fats, you will see it then just start to degrade into Swiss cheese because what it's made out of actually is toxic to itself. It can also be very hard in terms of it clogs up the arteries, and so it blocks oxygen getting into the brain. And the brain needs to be oxygenated. So many times the fats that it's made out of is starving itself. So give yourself an oil change, number one. Cut out all of these bad trans fats and start replacing it with what our ancestors ate. Very good, fresh foods. You want a fresh olive oil. Some people that are having even some autoimmune conditions, they shouldn't even eat any olive oil or extracted oils, but they can eat olives. You can eat these, the black olives or the green olives. And I don't mean the cheap canned ones. I mean like the Kalmata olives and the green olives, the nice expensive ones. They're not too expensive, but eat a good handful of those a day, and that's going to provide that oil. As I said again, the fish fat. Forget the margarine and go back to butter. It tastes so much better. It's so much better for you. Like the good Kerrygold butter, really, like these are beautiful cows that are in these beautiful green fields up in the mountains, and their life is so wonderful. And they eat all these great grasses that come from these glacial mountains full of minerals, and that's just turned into butter right for you. And so it stores sunshine and all these other great things. Eating these oils can make a huge difference. And so when you get a person that's fat deficient and then they start eating these oils, they will tell you like night and day difference. A week to 2 weeks later, it's like suddenly they're not fumbling for the numbers anymore. Suddenly they can remember the names, and it's empirical evidence going, wow, that really made a difference. My mind, I can remember things better. I'm quicker at thoughts. You can see even some of the Alzheimer patients, like they come out of it because they are able to rebuild their brain. So cutting out the bad fats and adding more of the good fats. Now, let me say this, there are many people that fat is so essential. It's one of these essential nutrients, the essential fatty acids. When it says it's an essential nutrient, meaning if you don't get it, you can't make it, and your body will steal it from what's stored in your body. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's the damage. So is aging the damage? No. It's not time. Time is not at all. It is, what are you going through? And are you supporting what you're going through? And are you rebuilding yourself with the constant rebuilding and good quality forms of the rebuilding? So, what was I saying about the oils, that they can become damaged, and taking the damaged oil passes the damage along. So I remember what I was going to say. So oil and water doesn't mix. We are 70 to 80% water, but yet we are this fat. So your brain's made out of a fat, but it's, so how does fat get into water? How do you emulsify a fat? Well, like how do you wash oily, greasy lasagna dishes? Do you wash it with hot water? No. You're just spreading it all over the place. You need soap. Well, that's what your gallbladder is. Your gallbladder stores the bile. The bile, when you eat fat, or when you want to burn up some of your own fat to deliver it to the brain or whatever, it has to be emulsified by the bile. Well, many Americans have really clogged gallbladders. And so for those people, if they take the DHA or they eat the butter, it's going right through them. It's not absorbing into. So one of the things that is a really great thing is what's called limonene. Limonene is this little oil. It's a little orange oil, and you add like 2 to 3 drops in your water, and that acts like a gallbladder. It acts like soap so that it emulsifies. Like how do you make mayonnaise? So it's the egg yolk that actually acts as an emulsifier. Right? So you make mayonnaise by mixing egg yolks with, let's say, olive oil. And you just whip it, whip it, whip it. And now all of these big fat particles have now been mixed together. And now you've got these tiny little particles. And that's how the fat gets to your brain, not just taking it. So many times I recommend that if you're dealing with some brain issues or some of this stuff, get the high quality fat, and also take limonene. Lecithin can also be taken. And I'll come right back. I'm going to go to a commercial right now.